A jury is learning what happened in the hours leading up to the crash that killed 17-year-old cyclist Magnus White in Boulder County in the summer of 2023.
That jury must decide whether or not the driver, Yeva Smilianska, is guilty of reckless vehicular homicide. She had her license for only 8 months before the crash.
Denver 7's Colette Bordelon has been in the courtroom where prosecutors say Smilianska barely slept that night, and they're using her phone to prove it, Colette.
Yeah, based off of her phone activity, they know that her last video was taken at around 6:05 and then a Google search next at 9 a.m. So she might have roughly slept for only 3 hours on the morning of that crash. And one of the text messages that was sent 19 minutes before the crash, prosecutors have brought it up several times today. It said, "I'm falling asleep, so I'm going home." Now, here's a snapshot of a video we saw today in court. It was from Smilianska's phone, showing she and a friend singing along to different songs in the early hours of the morning. The last video taken at 6:05 in the morning, it shows her holding a black tumbler and telling her friend there was still whiskey in it. The crash happened a little more than 6 hours later. Defense attorneys, they've pointed out that because of the tumbler, it's not clear how much liquid was in the cup, and we also don't know how long it had been in there or how long she'd been drinking. Another witness today, the cyclist who was right behind Magnus when the crash happened, says the car made, quote, a beeline directly into the back of the teenager. That cyclist ended up speaking with the defendant, who told him she thought she passed out, but didn't say anything about a steering wheel malfunction, which is what she's been telling investigators. In their opening statements, defense attorneys claimed this crime aligned more with careless driving, and they made sure to point out today the Colorado State Patrol reached that same conclusion at the end of their crash report. But a different crash reconstruction expert who was retained to review this case says there's no sign of Smilianska braking or swerving before hitting Magnus, and he believes she drove recklessly that day.
If the defendant driver was drinking in addition to being drowsy, that's compounded. I mean, you kind of look at drowsy driving as being impaired driving, and then you add in alcohol, drugs, using a cell phone. And really what that does is it dulls the reflexes, it clouds judgment, and it turns a moving vehicle into a deadly weapon.
That's Jerry Bowman. He's an attorney who's not connected to this case, but he's been following the developments in it. It's important to remember, Smilianska, she's not faced with any charges related to impaired driving, but that's certainly something prosecutors want the jury to consider, is whether or not drinking into those early, or I should probably say early hours of the morning on the day of the crash until 6 in the morning, if that could have played a role in what happened on that day in 2023. Prosecutors, they plan on resting their case very soon, as early as tomorrow. Then it's the defense team's turn. They said this case could go to the jury as soon as tomorrow. We're live in Boulder. Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.